He walked into her house holding divorce papers. What he found destroyed everything he thought he knew. 2 newborn twins. His twins. She had been pregnant. She had run. She had hidden his own children from him. And now, standing in that small apartment, the most dangerous man in the city realized he had lost 8 months of their lives. 8 months he would never get back. But she didn't run to hurt him. She ran because she loved them. And now, he has to choose. The empire that made him king, or the family that could make him human. The rain had no mercy that night. It fell heavy over the streets of Chicago, turning everything cold, turning everything gray. Jaewon sat in the back seat of the black sedan, his jaw tight, his fingers drumming once against the envelope in his lap. Divorce papers, signed on his end, waiting for hers. 6 months since she'd left. 6 months since she'd walked out of his penthouse without looking back, without asking for money, without begging him to change. She had just gone. And he had let her. Because men like him didn't chase. Men like him didn't beg. Men like him ruled empires built on fear, and love had no place in that world. But tonight, he would end it cleanly. No lawyers, no drama. Just a signature, and they'd both be free. The car stopped in front of a modest apartment building on the south side. Nothing like the luxury she'd lived in when she was his. The driver turned, hesitant. "Sir, are you sure? Wait here." Jaewon stepped out into the rain, his black coat soaking instantly, his shoes splashing through shallow puddles. He didn't care. He climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, found apartment 3C, and knocked. Once. Twice. Silence. Then footsteps. Slow. Careful. The door opened just a crack, and there she was. Amara. His breath caught. She looked. Different. Thinner. Tired. Her dark curls were pulled back, her eyes shadowed with exhaustion, but still, she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Jaewon. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I brought the papers." She didn't move. Didn't open the door wider. "You didn't have to come in person." "I wanted to." A lie. He didn't know why he'd come. He could have sent someone. Could have mailed them. But something in him needed to see her one last time. To make sure she was okay. To prove to himself that he didn't care. "I can't right now," she said quietly, her hand gripping the edge of the door. "It'll take 2 minutes. Just sign, and I'm gone." "Jaewon, please." And then he heard it. A cry. Soft, high-pitched, unmistakable. A baby. His entire body froze. Amara's face went pale. "Amara." His voice dropped cold and sharp. "What was that?" "Nothing. You should go." She tried to close the door, but his hand shot out, stopping it. His eyes locked on hers, and for the first time in 6 months, she saw the storm behind them. "Let me in." "Jaewon, let me in." She hesitated, and in that hesitation he knew. She stepped back. He pushed the door open and walked inside. The apartment was small. Clean. A single couch, a tiny kitchen, a bassinet near the window. And in that bassinet, 2 babies, newborns, identical, sleeping, their tiny fists curled against soft blankets. Jaewon stared. His mind went blank. "They're mine." It wasn't a question. Amara's voice cracked. "Yes." "How long?" "They were born 2 weeks ago." "How long, Amara?" His voice was deadly calm now. Too calm. "How long were you pregnant when you left?" She looked away, tears streaming down her face. 2 months. The air left his lungs. "You were pregnant." His words came slow, each one a blade. "You were carrying my children, and you left." "I had to." "You had to?" His voice rose, sharp and brutal. "You had to hide my children from me? You had to disappear? You had to make me believe you just didn't want me anymore?" "Because you would have made me stay," she shouted, her voice breaking. "You would have trapped me in that world, Jaewon. You would have raised them in that life. And I couldn't. I couldn't let them grow up surrounded by guns and fear and blood. He stepped closer, his eyes burning. So you took them from me. I saved them from you. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. One of the babies stirred, whimpering softly. Amara moved instantly, lifting the tiny girl into her arms, rocking her gently. Jaewon watched, frozen. He had missed this. He had missed everything. What are their names? His voice was barely audible. Amara hesitated. Minji and Taeyang. Korean names. She had given them Korean names. He looked at the boy still sleeping in the bassinet, then back at the girl in her arms. His daughter. His son. His family. And he hadn't even known they existed. I'm not signing those papers, he said quietly. Amara's breath hitched. Jaewon, you don't get to decide this alone anymore. His eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw something she'd never seen before. Fear. I'm their father, and you're going to let me be. Amara didn't sleep that night. Jaewon had left after an hour, silent and tense, his eyes never leaving the twins. He didn't argue, didn't demand. He just stood there, watching them breathe, as if trying to memorize every small movement. Before he left, he'd said one thing. I'll be back tomorrow. And now it was tomorrow. She paced the small living room. Minji sleeping against her chest in a wrap. Taeyang dozing in the bassinet. Every car engine outside made her flinch. Every footstep in the hallway made her heart race. She knew he would come. She just didn't know what he would do, because Jaewon wasn't a man who asked permission. He was a man who took. And now that he knew about the twins... A knock. Soft. Controlled. She opened the door. He stood there in a charcoal suit, perfectly tailored, his dark hair slicked back. But his eyes, God, his eyes, were different. Softer. Almost. Uncertain. Can I come in? She stepped aside. He entered slowly, his gaze immediately finding the twins. Taeyang was awake now, staring up at the ceiling with wide, curious eyes. Jaewon approached the bassinet, then hesitated. Can I? Amara blinked. He was asking permission. Yes. He reached down carefully, his large hands impossibly gentle as he lifted Taeyang. The baby looked so small in his arms, so fragile against his broad chest. Jaewon stared down at his son, and for a moment, the most dangerous man in Chicago looked completely lost. He has your eyes, Amara whispered. He has your nose. A pause. I don't know how to do this, Jaewon admitted quietly. Amara's throat tightened. Neither do I. But you've been doing it alone. There was no accusation in his voice. Just pain. For 8 months. I didn't have a choice. You always had a choice, Amara. You just didn't choose me. She looked away. I chose them. And you think I wouldn't have? I know you wouldn't have. Her voice broke. You would have kept me locked in that penthouse. You would have surrounded them with guards and guns. You would have raised them to be like you. And what's wrong with being like me? His voice was cold now, sharp. You're a criminal, Jaewon. I'm a king. You're a monster. The word hung between them, brutal and final. Jaewon didn't flinch. He just looked down at Taeyang, still cradled in his arms. And when he spoke again, his voice was quiet. Maybe I am. He kissed his son's forehead gently, then placed him back in the bassinet. When he turned to Amara, his expression was unreadable. But I'm their monster, and I'm not walking away. You don't get to just... I'm not asking, Amara. His eyes locked on hers. I'm telling you, I'm their father, and you're going to let me be part of their lives. Or what? Silence. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. Or I'll take them. Her blood ran cold. You wouldn't. Try me. Jaewon, please. I have lawyers, money, power. I can prove you're unfit. I can prove you kidnapped my children. I can take them. and you'll never see them again." Tears streamed down her face. "You bastard." "I know." He reached out, his hand cupping her cheek gently, his thumb brushing away a tear. "But I also know that I love them, and I love you, and I'm not losing any of you again." She shook her head, pulling away. "You don't love me. You love owning me. Maybe." His jaw tightened. "But you're still mine." "I'm not." "Then why are you still wearing my ring?" Amara froze. Her hand instinctively went to the thin silver band on her right hand, the one he'd given her before they were married, before everything fell apart. She'd meant to take it off. She'd tried to take it off, but she couldn't. Jaewon's eyes softened. "You left me, Amara, but you didn't stop loving me. That doesn't change anything. It changes everything." He stepped back, straightening his suit. "I'll be here every day, morning and night. I'll help with feedings, diaper changes, whatever you need. And when they're old enough, I'll teach them to be strong, to be smart, to survive, to be like you, to be better than me." She stared at him, searching his face for the lie, for the manipulation. But all she saw was a man trying to hold on to something he'd already lost. "And what if I say no?" she whispered. "Then I'll see you in court." He walked to the door, then paused. "But I don't think you'll say no, because deep down, you know they need their father. And you still need me too." The door closed softly behind him. Amara sank onto the couch, Minji still sleeping against her chest, and let the tears come. Because he was right, and she hated him for it. 3 weeks passed, and Jaewon kept his word. Every morning at 7 a.m., he arrived with coffee and breakfast. Every evening at 6 p.m., he returned to help with the twins. He changed diapers, learned to swaddle, held Minji when she cried, and rocked Taeyang when he wouldn't sleep. He didn't push, didn't demand, didn't try to control her. He just showed up. And slowly, impossibly, Amara began to remember why she'd fallen in love with him in the first place. It was a Thursday night when everything changed. The twins were finally asleep, and Amara sat on the couch, exhausted. Jaewon handed her a cup of tea, then sat beside her, not too close, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For being here, for trying." He looked at her, his dark eyes searching hers. "I meant what I said, Amara. I'm not the man I was. I'm trying to be better." "I know. Do you?" He turned to face her fully. "Because I don't think you believe me. I think you're still waiting for me to become the monster again." She looked down at her hands. "Can you blame me?" "No." His voice was soft. "But I need you to know something." "What?" "I'm leaving." Her heart stopped. "What?" "The organization, the empire, all of it." He exhaled slowly. "I'm stepping down." Amara stared at him, speechless. "I've spent the last 3 weeks making arrangements. My second-in-command will take over. Clean transition. No war. No blood." He met her eyes. "I'm walking away, Amara. For them. For you." Tears blurred her vision. "Jaewon. I can't be their father and a crime lord. I can't protect them if I'm the reason they're in danger." His jaw tightened. "So I'm choosing them. I'm choosing you. You can't just walk away from that world. They won't let you. They don't have a choice. They'll come after you. Let them try." His voice was steel. "I've made it clear. Anyone who touches my family dies. Simple as that." She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "You're going to get yourself killed. Then I'll die protecting them." He reached out, his hand cupping her face gently. "I'll die protecting you. I don't want you to die. I want you to live. I want you to be here, with them. With—" Her voice broke. "With you?" She nodded, unable to speak. Jaewon leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. But she didn't. Their lips met softly, hesitantly, as if they were both afraid the moment would shatter. But it didn't. It deepened. And for the first time in 8 months, Amara let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, they could have a second chance. When they finally pulled apart, Jae-won rested his forehead against hers, his eyes closed. "I love you," he whispered. "I never stopped." "I love you too." Her voice was barely audible. "But love isn't enough." "Then I'll make it enough." A sound from the nursery, Minji, crying softly. Amara started to stand, but Jae-won stopped her. "I'll go." She watched him walk into the small room, watched him lift their daughter with such care, such tenderness. Watched him become the father she'd always hoped he could be. And she realized something terrifying. She was falling in love with him all over again. But this time, she wasn't running. This time, she was staying. And that was the most dangerous choice of all. Before you leave, this story only exists because of people like you. If it moved you even a little, don't just feel it. Act on it. Tap Super Thanks now and help us keep these stories alive. Or join our members club to receive early access and exclusive stories. Your support today decides the next story we tell. The threat came on a Tuesday. Jae-won had just finished feeding Taeyang when his phone buzzed. A single message, no name, just a number he recognized. "You think you can just walk away? You think we'll let you live in peace with your little family?" His blood turned to ice. He deleted the message immediately, his jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Amara was in the kitchen, humming softly while preparing bottles. The twins were asleep in their bassinet, peaceful and unaware. Safe. For now. But Jae-won knew better than anyone. Safety was an illusion, especially for men like him. Men who had built empires on the bones of their enemies. Men who had made too many people bleed to ever be forgiven. He had known this day would come. He just hadn't expected it to come so soon. "Jae-won?" Amara's voice pulled him back. She was standing in the doorway, her brow furrowed. "You okay?" "Yeah." He forced a smile. "Just work stuff." "You said you were stepping down." "I am. This is just loose ends." She didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. She'd learned over the past few weeks that Jae-won would tell her when he was ready. Pushing only made him shut down. But this time, he couldn't tell her. Because if she knew the truth, if she knew that his past was coming for them, she would run. And this time, she'd take the twins somewhere he'd never find them. He couldn't lose them again. He wouldn't lose them again. That night, after Amara went to bed, Jae-won made a call. "Hyung." The voice on the other end was cold, efficient. "I was wondering when you'd call." "Minho, I need a favor." "You're out, Jae-won. You don't get favors anymore. This isn't about the organization. This is about my family." A pause. Then, "What do you need?" "Protection. Full security detail. 24/7 surveillance. No one gets close to them. You've made a lot of enemies, brother. You really think we can keep them all away? I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it costs." Jae-won's voice was steel. "If anyone touches them, I'll burn this entire city to the ground." Minho sighed. "You're not supposed to care anymore, remember? You're supposed to be out." "I'll never be out. Not really. We both know that." Jae-won looked toward the bedroom where Amara slept. "But I can try, and I need you to give me that chance." "Fine. I'll send my best men." "But Jae-won?" "What?" "This won't last forever. Sooner or later you're going to have to make a choice. The family you built. Or the family you want." The line went dead. Jae-won stood in the darkness, his fists clenched, his heart pounding. He'd already made his choice. Now he just had to survive it. The security team arrived the next morning. Discreet. Professional. 2 men in civilian clothes stationed outside the building, another monitoring from a black SUV down the street. Cameras installed in the hallway. A panic button hidden under the kitchen counter. Amara noticed immediately. "What is this?" She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her eyes sharp. Precaution. For what? Amara. Don't lie to me, J1. Her voice was quiet, but deadly serious. What's going on? He could have lied. Could have made up some story about general threats, about being careful. But when he looked into her eyes, he saw the woman who had risked everything to protect their children. She deserved the truth. Someone reached out. Someone from my past. He kept his voice calm, controlled. They're not happy about me leaving. They think I'm a liability. Her face went pale. Are we in danger? Not anymore. I've taken care of it. Taken care of it how? You don't want to know. Yes, I do. She stepped closer, her voice rising. If my children are in danger because of you, I deserve to know exactly what you did. I called in protection. That's all. No violence, no retaliation, just insurance. And you think that's going to stop them? It has to. And what if it doesn't? Her eyes filled with tears. What if they come anyway? What if they hurt the twins? What if they won't? He grabbed her shoulders gently, but firmly. I swear to you, Amara, I will die before I let anyone touch them. Before I let anyone touch you. That's what I'm afraid of. Her voice broke. I'm afraid you're going to die, and I'm going to be alone again. But this time with 2 babies who will never know their father. That's not going to happen. You can't promise that. I can, and I am. He pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her tightly. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving you, not again. She buried her face in his chest, her body shaking with silent sobs, and J1 held her, his jaw tight, his mind racing, because he'd lied. He wasn't just taking precautions. He was preparing for war. The attack came 3 days later. It was 2 a.m. when J1 heard the first sound, a soft scrape against the fire escape outside. His eyes snapped open instantly, every muscle in his body tensing. They're here. He moved silently, slipping out of bed without waking Amara. He grabbed the gun from the lockbox under the nightstand, the one she didn't know about, and checked the clip, fully loaded. He crept toward the living room, his footsteps soundless on the hardwood floor. Through the window, he could see shadows moving. 2 figures, maybe 3. Amateurs. If they'd been professionals, he'd already be dead. But amateurs were still dangerous, especially desperate ones. He texted Minho, "Breach 3C, now." Then he waited. The window started to slide open. Slow. Careful. A gloved hand reached through, unlocking it from the inside. J1 moved. He grabbed the man's wrist and yanked him through the window, slamming him against the wall. The man gasped, his eyes wide with shock. "Who sent you?" J1's voice was a whisper, but it carried the weight of a death sentence. I don't... Wrong answer." He pressed the gun to the man's temple, his finger on the trigger. "Last chance. Who sent you?" Park Sung-min. He said you owed him." "He said you couldn't just leave." Park Sung-min, one of the old guard. A man who'd been with the organization since before Jaewon was born. A man who believed loyalty was paid in blood. Of course. "How many of you?" 3. Just 3. "Please, man, I have a family." "So do I." The sound of the front door crashing open made them both flinch. Minho's men poured in, weapons drawn, moving with lethal precision. Within seconds, the other 2 intruders were on the ground, hands zip-tied behind their backs. Minho entered last, his expression grim. "You okay?" "Fine." "The family?" "Still sleeping." Jaewon looked down at the man pinned against the wall. "Take them, all of them, and send a message to Park." "What message?" "That if he comes near my family again, I'll kill him myself." Minho nodded. "Consider it done." As his men dragged the intruders out, Jaewon turned back toward the bedroom and saw Amara standing in the doorway. Her face was white, her hands were shaking, and in her eyes, he saw something that broke him. Terror. Amara, get out. I can explain. Get out. Her voice was a whisper, but it cut deeper than any blade. Get out of my home. Get away from my children. They're my children too. You brought this here. She was shouting now, tears streaming down her face. You brought guns and violence and death into their home. You swore you'd protect them. I did protect them. By almost killing someone in our living room? What was I supposed to do? Let them take you? Let them take the twins? You were supposed to keep us safe. She collapsed against the doorframe, sobbing. You were supposed to make sure this never happened. Jaewon felt his heart shatter. Because she was right. He'd failed. Again. I'm sorry, he whispered. God, Amara, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. She looked up at him, her eyes red and raw. I love you. I love you. But I can't. I can't do this. I can't live like this. And I can't let them grow up like this. So what are you saying? I'm saying you need to choose. Her voice was steady now, final. Your empire. Or us. Once and for all. No more half measures. No more, I'm stepping down. You need to destroy it. Completely. Forever. Amara, it's not that simple. Then we're done. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Final. Jaewon stared at her, at the woman he loved more than life itself, and realized he'd been lying to himself. He'd thought he could have both. He'd thought he could walk away and still keep his power, his influence, his connections. But power didn't work like that. It consumed. It demanded. It destroyed. And if he didn't let it go completely, it would destroy them. Okay, he said quietly. Okay, what? I'll do it. He looked into her eyes. I'll burn it all down. Every connection, every alliance, every shred of power I have. I'll destroy it. For you. For them. She searched his face, looking for the lie, for the manipulation. But all she saw was a man who had finally learned what mattered. Promise me, she whispered. I promise. Swear it. I swear on their lives, on your life, I will end this. And then I'm coming back to you, and I'm never leaving again. She nodded slowly, exhaustion and hope warring in her eyes. Then go, she said softly. Go end this, and come back to us. Jaewon kissed her forehead gently, then walked to the bassinet where Minji and Taeyang slept peacefully, unaware of the war raging around them. He kissed each of them softly. Daddy will be back soon, he whispered. I promise. Then he walked out the door, and into the darkness. The war lasted 6 days. 6 days of meetings in smoke-filled rooms. 6 days of threats and negotiations and carefully worded compromises. 6 days of dismantling an empire he'd spent a decade building. Jaewon didn't sleep. He called Amara every night, just to hear her voice, to hear the twins crying in the background. She didn't say much, just listened. But she didn't hang up either, and that was enough to keep him going. On the first day, he met with the council, the 7 men who controlled the organization's operations across the city. He walked into that boardroom, knowing he might not walk out. Gentlemen, he said, standing at the head of the table, I'm dissolving my share of the organization, effective immediately. Silence. Then Park Sung-min laughed. You think you can just dissolve your share? You think we'll let you walk away with everything you know? I'm not asking permission. Jaewon's voice was ice. I'm informing you. My territories, my operations, my assets, I'm dividing them equally among you. All of you. No strings attached. And what do you get? Nothing, except my freedom. Another man spoke up. Kim Tae-ho, one of the younger members. And what's to stop you from coming back? From rebuilding? From using what you know against us? My word. Your word? Park sneered. Your word means nothing. Then let me make it mean something. Jaewon pulled out a document and slid it across the table. This is a full confession. Every operation I've ever run, every deal I've ever made, every person I've ever worked with, signed and dated. If I ever come back, if I ever threaten any of you, you release this, and I go to prison for the rest of my life." The room went silent. "You're serious?" Tejo breathed. "Deadly serious." Park leaned forward, his eyes narrowed. "Why? Why would you give up everything for some woman and 2 screaming brats?" Jaewon's jaw tightened. "Because they're worth more than this empire ever was. And because I'd rather die free than live as a prisoner to this life." "You're a fool. Maybe." Jaewon stood. "But I'm a fool who's walking away alive. And that's more than most of us can say." He left the document on the table and walked out. No one stopped him. On the 3rd day, he met with his lieutenants, the men who'd followed him into hell and back. Men who'd bled for him, killed for him. Men who'd become his brothers. They met in an abandoned warehouse on the docks, the kind of place where deals were made and bodies were buried. Minho was there, along with 8 others. They stood in a circle, arms crossed, faces grim. "You're really doing this?" Minho asked quietly. "I am." "And what about us? What are we supposed to do?" "Whatever you want. Stay with the organization. Start something new. Go legit." Jaewon looked at each of them. "I'm not your boss anymore. You don't owe me anything." "Bullshit," one of the men spat. "We owe you everything. You pulled us out of the gutter. You gave us purpose. You made us somebody. And now I'm asking you to let me go. Why should we?" "Because you're my brothers, and brothers don't hold each other prisoner." Silence. Then Minho stepped forward. "If you're out for good. No coming back. No favors. No emergency calls. You understand?" "I understand. And if someone comes after you, if someone decides you're too dangerous to leave alive, then I'll handle it myself." Minho stared at him for a long moment, then extended his hand. "It's been an honor, Hyung." Jaewon clasped it firmly. "The honor was mine." One by one, the others came forward. Some shook his hand, some embraced him. One man cried. And when it was over, Jaewon walked out of that warehouse alone. For the first time in 10 years, he had no army behind him. No power, no protection. Just himself. And somehow, that felt like freedom. On the 6th day, he went to see Park Sung-min. He found the old man in his study, surrounded by dark wood and expensive liquor. Park didn't look surprised to see him. "I was wondering when you'd show up," Park said, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey. "I'm not here to fight." "Then why are you here?" "To apologize." Park's hand froze. "Apologize?" "For sending men to your house. For threatening your family." Jaewon sat down across from him. "You were right. I can't just walk away and expect everyone to forget. I owe debts. I've made enemies. And I've hurt people. So what now? You think an apology fixes that?" "No, but it's a start." Jaewon met his eyes. "I know you wanted me dead, and maybe you still do. But I'm asking you, as one man to another, as one father to another, to let me go. Let me raise my children in peace. Let me try to be better than I was." Park studied him for a long moment, then downed his whiskey in one gulp. "You know what the difference is between you and me?" Park asked. "What?" "I never had a choice. I was born into this life. My father was in the organization. His father before him. I never got to walk away." He poured another glass. "But you chose this. You built your empire from nothing. And now you're choosing to walk away. And I hate you for that. I know. But I also respect it." Park raised his glass. "So here's my deal. You stay away from the organization. You don't interfere. You don't come back. And I'll make sure no one touches your family. Ever. Why would you do that? Because you're doing something I never could." Park's voice was quiet, almost wistful. "You're choosing love over power. And maybe that's what real strength looks like." Jaewon raised his own glass. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just don't make me regret this. They drank in silence. And when Jaewon left that study, he knew it was really over. He was finally free. He called Amara from his car. Hello? Her voice was cautious. It's done. Silence. Then, what do you mean? I mean it's over, all of it. I'm out. Completely. Forever. He heard her breath catch. Jaewon. I kept my promise, Amara. I burned it down. Every connection, every alliance, every piece of the life I used to have. It's gone. Are you safe? I'm safe, and so are you. I made sure of it. How? Doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm coming home. His voice broke slightly. If you'll still have me. Of course I'll have you. She was crying now. He could hear it. We've been waiting for you. The twins. God, Jaewon, Minji won't stop crying. It's like she knows you're not here. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Okay, we'll be waiting. Amara? Yeah? I love you. More than anything in this world. More than any empire, any power, any life I could have had. You and those babies are my entire world now, and I'm never letting you go again. I love you too, she whispered. Now hurry up and come home. He hung up and drove through the city, his heart pounding, his hands shaking. He'd lost everything. But he'd gained something so much more valuable. A family. A future. A second chance. And this time, he wasn't going to waste it. 3 months later. The house was small, but it was theirs. A 2-story cottage in a quiet neighborhood outside the city, with a backyard and a white fence and neighbors who smiled and waved. The kind of place Jaewon would have sneered at 3 years ago. Now, it was paradise. He stood in the kitchen, warming bottles while Amara napped on the couch, Minji sleeping on her chest. Taeyang was in his arms, staring up at him with those impossibly wide eyes. You're getting heavy, buddy, Jaewon murmured, kissing his son's forehead. Pretty soon you'll be running circles around me. Taeyang cooed, his tiny hand gripping Jaewon's finger. And in that moment, Jaewon felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Daddy's got you, he whispered. Always. The doorbell rang. Jaewon tensed instinctively. Old habits died hard, but relaxed when he saw Minho through the window. He opened the door carefully, Taeyang still cradled in one arm. Hyung, Minho greeted, his expression unreadable. Minho, what are you doing here? Just checking in, making sure you're settled. I am. Good. Minho glanced past him into the house. Looks cozy. It is. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between them. You happy? Minho asked finally. Jaewon looked down at Taeyang, then back at Amara sleeping peacefully on the couch. Happier than I've ever been. Then I'm glad. Minho extended his hand. Take care of yourself, brother. Jaewon shook it firmly. You too. Minho turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, you made the right choice. Yeah, I know. He watched Minho drive away, then closed the door and carried Taeyang back inside. Amara was awake now, watching him with a soft smile. Who was that? No one important. Liar. He grinned, sitting beside her. Someone from my past, but he's not part of my future. Good. She shifted Minji carefully, then leaned her head on his shoulder. Because your future is right here. I know. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their children breathe, feeling the warmth of the afternoon sun streaming through the windows. This was his empire now. Not buildings and money and fear, but love and laughter and quiet mornings. Jaewon? Amara's voice was soft. Do you ever miss it? The power, the control, the everything. He thought about it. Really thought about it. No, he said honestly. I don't, because I realized something. What? A power doesn't mean anything if you're alone, Control doesn't matter if you have no one to share your life with. He kissed the top of her head. I spent 10 years building an empire. But this, you, them, this life, this is the only kingdom I need. Tears slid down her cheeks. You really mean that? Every word. She turned to look at him, her eyes shining. Then I have something to tell you. What? She smiled, nervous and radiant all at once. I'm pregnant again. J1's world stopped. You're what? Pregnant, about 8 weeks. She bit her lip. I found out yesterday. I was going to wait, but... He kissed her. Deep, desperate, joyful. When they finally pulled apart, he was laughing, tears streaming down his face. Another one. Another one. God, Amara, we're going to be outnumbered. I know. She laughed through her own tears. Are you okay with that? Okay with it? I'm thrilled. He looked down at Minji and Taeyang, then placed his hand gently on Amara's stomach. Our family. Our beautiful, chaotic, perfect family. No more running? She whispered. No more running. No more secrets? No more secrets. Promise? I promise. He cupped her face gently. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. With you. With them. Forever. She kissed him again, soft and sweet and full of hope. And as the sun set over their little house, as their children slept peacefully in their arms, Jaewon realized something profound. He had spent his entire life searching for power. But true power wasn't in controlling others. It was in being vulnerable enough to love, strong enough to walk away, brave enough to start over. And that was the greatest empire he could ever build. 5 years later, the backyard was chaos. Minji and Taeyang, now 5 years old, were chasing their little sister, Hana, around the garden while she shrieked with laughter. Their baby brother, June, was asleep in his carrier, completely unbothered by the noise. Amara stood at the grill, flipping burgers, her hair pulled back, her face glowing. Jaewon watched from the porch, a beer in his hand, a smile on his face. This was his life now. No guards, no guns, no threats. Just barbecues and scraped knees and bedtime stories. And it was perfect. Daddy! Minji ran up to him, her dark curls bouncing. Taeyang says I can't climb the big tree, but I can, right? Absolutely not, Jaewon said seriously. Why not? Because that's my job. Come on. He scooped her up, making her squeal. Let's climb it together. As he carried his daughter toward the oak tree in the corner of the yard, Amara caught his eye and smiled. And Jaewon knew, without a doubt, that he'd made the right choice. He'd given up an empire, but he'd gained a kingdom. And this one was built to last. If this story made you feel something, don't scroll away. Support us with super thanks. Join the Members Club for exclusive stories and early access. Your support keeps these stories coming.